Hey everybody, this is Vision Quest Barbecue. I'm Pops. We're going to take you on a unique adventure. What's happening here is I've never barbecued before. I've watched a ton of YouTube videos. I've ate a lot of barbecue. I know good barbecue from bad barbecue, but I've never been able to cook it. So we're going to give it a try today. I live in Central Texas. I think Central Texas barbecue is the best. So that's what I'm going to try to recreate here today, is a Central Texas smoked barbecue brisket on an offset smoker. Here's the game plan. It's right now 6:20 in the evening on a Friday evening. I understand how a lot of folks get up real early in the morning and start cooking barbecue, start cooking these briskets. As I understand it, these briskets can take 12 to 14 hours. The brisket I have today is about 19 pounds. I'm expecting that to take around the 14-hour range. My plan is to cook it at 275 degrees or so on my offset smoker. But I'd like to have this barbecue for lunch, or at best, maybe at worst, in the middle of the afternoon as a late lunch. So I'm starting this thing in the evening. I'm probably hopefully going to get it on the barbecue smoker here about 7:30 or 8 p.m. We're going to cook all through the night. When I get this thing to somewhere around 165 to 180 degrees and I have the right perfect bark, the fat is starting to render and get sticky and yellow on this thing, I'm going to wrap it in butcher paper. I know the internet secret right now is to put this stuff, the wagyu beef tallow, in the butcher paper. I'm going to do that. I'm going to give that a try. I'm going to wrap it. I'm going to put it back on the smoker, keep smoking. When we get it up to around 202, 203 degrees, we're going to pull it off. We're going to let it cool for about an hour. We're then going to rewrap it in some more wagyu beef tallow butcher paper and keep trying it. This is kind of like Mike Tyson said, everyone's got a plan until someone comes out and punches them in the mouth. We're going to see how well my plan works out. We're going to start by me trimming this brisket the way I've seen on these YouTube videos. We're going to put it on the smoker at 275. We're going to leave it on the smoker for 3 to 4 hours. We're not going to look, because what I've heard on the YouTube videos is if you're looking, you ain't cooking. And so I'm going to cook for 3 or 4 hours, and we're going to pull that thing up, take a look. Hopefully we got some bark building on that thing. In the meantime, my job is to maintain a clean fire. I hope to have clean smoke on this thing, and I hope we start cooking a good brisket. I've got the brisket in the freezer right now getting cool so I can trim that fat. I just put it in there about 15 minutes ago. I'm going to take it out in about 15 minutes. I've got some lump charcoal out there in a chimney burning, so I'm going to start building my fire, get that thing going, then I'm going to trim the brisket. So I'll talk to you next when I get this brisket unwrapped here and we start trimming on it. We'll see you here in just a few minutes. Hey guys, welcome back to Vision Quest Barbecue. I'm Pops. We've now got our fire out there going in our offset smoker. We've got our brisket here. It's USDA Prime. We got it at the HEB here in Texas. For those of you in Texas, I'm sure you're well familiar with HEB. This was 19.45 pounds. We're going to start to trim it on it. You can see the top side, or the fat side here. We've got a big cap of fat here. We're going to take it down to about 1/4 of an inch off of the meat here. We're going to trim this up a little bit. On the bottom side here, or the lean side, you got a little bit of fat here. We're going to take some of it off. We've got this huge pocket of fat here we're going to take off. We can see the grains running like this. We're going to put a little cut here and trim this up around this edge, make it very dynamic. I'm going to stop talking. A lot of y'all have seen people trim briskets before, and I'm going to start to trim it. Let's see. When you're trimming a brisket, you always want to start by just taking off a little bit. You can always continue to take off some as you go. If you take off too much, then you're in trouble and you can't put it back. So be careful when you're taking it off. Take it off slowly. Here I just want to shave this down a little bit. It's a huge pocket of fat that's not going to render with the smoking process. What I do want to do though is take it down just a little bit more than even with the meat. I'm not going to dig in there. I don't want to make too big a hole. That's just going to collect grease and cause problems throughout the cooking process if you make it too concave. Alright guys, we're going to continue to trim this thing up a little bit. I'm going to take a little bit of this fat off here on the lean side, not a whole lot. You can see I've started cutting this out a little bit here. Just trying to make it as aerodynamic and as flat here as we possibly can. Make sure you get you a good trimming knife, a boning knife. I've got a hammer stall here, knife that I really like a lot. My wife got it for me as a gift one year, and it's really been a good knife and I really enjoy it. Okay, along this edge here you can see there's quite a bit of fat right here. I'm going to go ahead and trim this off. Take this down. A lot of times on the edge of these briskets you'll have this very weird looking meat. I think it's caused by the bandsaw when they cut it at the processor. So always take a look at that meat on the side, make sure it looks appealing. If it's something that it looks like something you don't want to eat, go ahead and take it off. It's not going to look any better after it's cooked, I guarantee it. Alright, that's looking pretty good on this side. Let's flip it over so that we can see the fat side here. And this is where we need to do some trimming. Take it all down, take all the fat down. You want to leave about 1/4 of an inch of fat above the meat. Again, go slow. You can always take off more. But you can't put it back. Alright guys, we're coming back. We've got this thing trimmed down. We're now going to add our spice, black and white, salt and pepper. That's all we need here in Texas for our barbecue. I'm going to put the salt on first. I'm going to cook this with the fat side down. That's where the heat comes from, up from the grill. And so I'm going to salt and pepper that first and get the edges good. Then I'm going to turn it over and do the lean side. And then we're going to get this thing on the grill. Alright guys, there we go. It looks like we got us a seasoned up brisket there. We're going to get it on. We got the smokers nice and warmed up out there. It's running right at about 275 degrees. We're going to get this brisket on and we'll get it cooking. Alright guys, here we are. We got this thing on the smoker. We got our brisket on the smoker. We got a couple temperature probes in there. We got a temperature probe up front here to show the ambient temperature. We're starting this thing, it's about 7:30 in the evening. Let's look and get the exact time. It's 7:51 p.m. We're starting this thing. We expect this thing to be done early morning. We've got it fat side down. We've got the point towards the fire here. This is our smoker. We'll go ahead and close this thing. Right now it's at 240 degrees inside there. You can't really see that well, but it's 240 degrees. I'm going to run it at about 250 for a while. This is the smoker we're using here today. We got our fire going down here. Let's take a look at the firebox, see what that thing looks like. We're burning post oak today. That's what our fire's looking like. We're going right now. I'm letting it burn down. I started it out a little hot, and then I'm letting it burn down to get down to the temperature where we want here. Now before I put some more on here, I've got a good clean smoke. I'm not sure you can see that out here in the dark. That's the bad part about doing this at night, is that you don't get a really good view of what the cook looks like. We may have to change that a little bit in the future, but just so that you have a good look of everything that's going on here. This is our smoker. We'll turn it off here. We're going to let this thing go for 3 hours. I'm going to actually set the timer on my phone here so that we can see exactly what's happening. I hope you can see that there. See my phone starting there. I'm going to turn that on right now. We just got it going. We're going to see how long it takes to cook this thing. It's a 19-pound brisket, and we trimmed off a little about 3.5 pounds worth of meat, most of it fat. So we expect this thing to take 14 to 16 hours to get it cooked. We'll be back in touch with you here shortly. All right, guys, our brisket's been on not quite 4 hours, but close to it. It's 11:45 at night. We've been cooking this thing. We're holding steady between 250 and 275. We're gonna pull this thing. We're gonna open this thing, take a look at it. Hopefully we got some bark building. I don't know what we've got in there. Let's open this up. Take a look, see what we got. All right, here's our brisket. If we keep it moist, I'm going to make sure we've got plenty of water. Got a water pan going in here. Let's give this a little better. Keep that thing moist. Keep going. I'm probably going to come out here about every 30 minutes, 45 minutes, give that another spritz down. We're pretty good right now. We got that thing spritzed down. We'll be back in about another 30-45 minutes, give it another look. Things are going well right now, starting to build some bark. Alright, we've been going almost 6.5 hours now. We're going to take a look at this. I've been spritzing it on and off. Haven't showed all of them on this video. I want to take a look here. Starting to stall out a little bit. We're starting to get some bark. Let me get a little flashlight here so we can see. Alright, starting to stall out a little bit. It looks like the temperature is starting to really slow down. Starting to build up some bark there. Alright, we're going to spritz it again. Keep going. Alright. Put this down. Alright. We'll keep going, check in later. Alright, we reached the stall. We came out of the stall after about an hour and a half. As soon as it started coming up a little bit out of the stall, I went ahead. I'm trying some of this secret ingredient. Many of you have watched the YouTube videos, know what this is all about. I put it all over the butcher paper as I began to wrap the brisket. I wrapped it at 167. The fat was rendering. I've got it sitting here. It's cooking. I've got the probes back in it. They've lost a couple of degrees. They're now down at 165. I'm going to close this. Going to turn up the heat a little bit on this thing, probably try to bring it home somewhere around 275 to 300. We've been cooking on this thing, at this point, almost 12 hours. So hopefully we'll get there soon. I'll report back. All right, we're coming up on 17 hours on this cook. These are our temperatures right now. We've got the point probe at 203. We've got the flat probe at 199. We've got the middle of the flat, the thickest part of the brisket at 196. This is what it's looking like in here. You can tell it's soaked. You can actually, I thought I could hear it, but I can't. I'm going to go ahead and let it cook a little bit longer. Going to try to get all the points up to about 202, 203. I'm going to start probing it to see how things are doing, but we're getting close. All right, guys, we're back at Vision Quest Barbecue. I'm Pops. It's been a long day. We started cooking this brisket on Friday evening. It actually went on the smoker. Forget all the pre-prep before, but it went on the smoker at 7:51. We took it off today. We've let it rest. It cooked for 18 hours. We let it rest for a couple of hours now, but we're trying to sum everything up for you. This brisket stayed in the stall from 160 to 165 for several hours. We powered through that. I'm trying to get this brisket to 202, 203. At 199 it stalls out again, and it cooks for several hours at that point, and we just flat can't get it up over 200. We use the probes. We probe it on this thing. It's feeling like butter. We finally determined that, hey, this thing is done. We took it off. We let it rest for a couple of hours. We let it sit for about an hour just at room temperature. Then we put it into a ice chest. Covered it with the towel, put it in the ice chest for about an hour. We've now taken it out, let it cool a little bit. It's at 159 right now. Hopefully when I unwrap it here, it's going to continue to get a little bit cooler. Not sure what it looks like when I took it off the grill. Almost dropped it in grabbing it. I know I knocked a big chunk of the bark off, and I'm not happy with that. We're going to see that mistake here in a minute. But it is what it is. Hey, it's better to have a little bit of missing bark than it is to not have a brisket that fell on the ground. So let's unwrap this thing, take a look. We'll slice it. The proof's always in the pudding. We'll taste it and see what it tastes like here. So remove the thermometer. Oh, one other thing we did when we wrapped this, and we wrapped it at 167 degrees. It had been in the stall for several hours when we first wrapped it. We did use the wagyu beef tallow, put it all over the butcher paper when we wrapped it, and put it back on the grill. When we put it back on the smoker, at that point, we put the flat side towards the heat after it was wrapped up a little bit. Then once we took it off, we cut it open, we let it cool for about 15 minutes, then we re-wrapped it again. And that's the wrapping we have on here now. We re-wrapped it. When we re-wrapped it, we again put the beef tallow in there, the wagyu beef tallow. Don't know how that's going to turn out, whether that's going to be good, bad, or what, but we'll have to find out. Let's dig into this thing and see what it's all about. One thing I can tell you is cooking with the beef tallow, it makes a heck of a mess. You have grease everywhere. This thing smells incredible. It smells, obviously, it has a very heavy pepper smell as I'm unwrapping this thing. You can see, here's my chunk where I took the bark off, a big piece of fat there, but I did cook this thing fat side down. Don't know whether that was the right decision or the wrong decision. We're going to find out. Let me pick this thing up. Whew. I can tell you underneath here, maybe you can see, sitting in this beef tallow, a lot of the bark, it looks like, may have become very moist and maybe even washed off somewhat. I'm going to turn off the video just so I can get all hands on deck so we can get this paper out of the way. When we come back, all we're going to have done is remove this paper. Let's go off. Alright guys, we've got the paper and all the wrap pulled out of the way. We were just talking a little bit about kind of what we might do differently, and we're a little concerned about how the bark brushed or washed off the bottom in all the beef tallow. Maybe the second time, if I were to do this, I would use the beef tallow on the first wrap. I wouldn't use the beef tallow on the second wrap. That's just the thought going in here. Let's cut this thing and see what we have. I'm going to start by taking off a little bit of the end here. Our bark is just falling off. We got a big smoke ring, but the bark is just falling off. I'm afraid trying to work through what we thought was that second stall, that we ended up cooking this thing too long. But we'll keep cutting a few more slices here and see. Boy, it feels kind of tough. Not real thrilled with this right now. A little disappointed. Let's take a look at one of these pieces. Pull this piece out and take a look. Well, you can see there we got a pretty nice smoke ring on the top. It's going to make the bend test for sure. And let's see how it pulls apart. Well, it pulls apart real nice. I guess the only thing the proof is in the taste in here. Let me give it a little taste, see what we think. It's a little dry. Let's cut it here and get into a little bit of the point. Let's take a look here and see what this looks like. Well, we got a whole bunch of fat right there that it did render down, and boy, it's juicy. That point might be better than anticipated. Let's see here. Put this in the middle. Might need to get me a little bit better slicing knife, because that isn't working so good. Well, it's just obliterating the bark with this knife. That's just awful. That's the worst cutting job I've ever seen.
Should we try to find a different knife?
Well, it just shredded it. I don't know whether that's worth the damn right there. Matter of fact, I don't think it is. I think that's the biggest mess in the world. Alright guys, this brisket seems unlike any other brisket I've ever seen as far as the amount of fat, the interior fat. And my bark here, there's just no way to cut this without the bark just getting destroyed. It just starts shredding. And so I'm asking for help out there, guys. What did I overcook this? Is that my problem? Because you just flat can't cut it and still get your bark on it. There is, you can look at these pieces, there's an incredible smoke ring on it, on some of them, but you just can't get you a piece with any bark on it, which is just awful. I'm very disappointed. It pulls apart very nicely. It folds decently. It just doesn't cut. And I don't know what the problem is. Maybe someone can help us. Please give us some comments and give us some feedback. Be nice about it. This is my first one, but I'd sure like to know what I did wrong. Alright, we're coming back on. This is Pops with Vision Quest Barbecue. There's no two ways to put it. This was an epic failure in my opinion. I think my brisket was cooked too much. It was overdone. I'm interested in everyone's comments, see what they say. But as you can see here, we have some chunked up meat that we couldn't really cut very well. without just shredding it. The bark would just come off. And we got us a big pile of chopped brisket. I guess we need to have some chopped brisket sandwiches. I don't mind a chopped brisket sandwich, but I tell you what, that's more than I'm care to eat right there. Very disappointed. 18 hours worth of work, $65, $70 worth invested in this brisket. Again, there's no two ways to put it. It's an epic failure. Doesn't mean I'm giving up. I will try again, but I might first barbecue some ribs or something else before I try brisket again, because this was a lot of work. Stayed up all night, haven't slept all day, all night, and I was hoping to enjoy some good barbecue, and this is awful. Again, it cooked for 18 hours. It was about just a little less than 16 pounds. I ran my smoker between 250 and 275 for the most part. Never went really below 250, maybe 245. Didn't go much higher than 275. I did crank it up probably between 275 and 300 after I wrapped it, thinking I was going to bring it home. I think one of my huge mistakes is I was waiting on a temperature probe to get to 202, 203. Instead, I should have been doing the probe test, testing the feel of the meat, which is kind of hard to do when you got it wrapped in butcher paper. You got to poke through the wrap, and then you think you feel, it feels good, but you're just not sure. Living and learning, I could tell, frankly, when I picked this thing up off of the grill to wrap it, or actually not to wrap it, but to take it over and take it off and rewrap it, that it was jiggly. It was probably a little bit too jiggly. So anyways, we live to fight another day. Don't forget that a bad day barbecuing is always better than a bad day playing golf. I don't know if that makes any sense, but I got to have some light at the end of the tunnel, some bright spot out of this, and I hate golf, and so I guess this was better than a day out golfing for me. Give me your comments. Tell me what I did wrong. Be nice. Be kind. We'll try it again. I look forward to all the comments, and you'll see me back doing this again. Bye-bye.